Epic. All right, guys, welcome to the Monday night team call. Tonight, we're doing the 6 weeks of skills training, the business basics. And tonight, the skill we're touching on is my favorite. I think I've said that all 3 weeks so far. They're all my favorite, but this one in particular is really good. And it is, I'm just going to share screen with you guys. It is inviting people to events. So I'm going to put you up there. So inviting people to events. So I'm going to share a little bit, and then I'm actually going to get Meg to jump on and share tonight because she's just spent 3 days with David Wood. So she can share firsthand what it's all about. So I guess like the main thing I want to talk about with events is it's pretty much a non-negotiable. Like if you want to build any sort of freedom in a network marketing business, you do it by leveraging the events and using events. It's the highest paid skill in network marketing. Eric Worre is the man. And it's like, I mean, all the skills are important, yes, but if you're only going to do one thing and you're just getting people to events, to be honest, if the events are good, which our events are, the rest can kind of take care of itself. So this is and like anything though, it's a skill. And so many people I see rock up like week after week or year after year, and they're going to the events, but they're not getting people to the events. So you start to create leverage and freedom for yourself and duplication in your business when you can get people to events. And the main reason they work so well is they help build belief in all areas. So belief in the products, belief in the comp plan, belief in self, belief in network marketing, belief in the company. They build belief in all areas at the same time. So what would require listening to probably 50 hours, no more, like hours and hours of podcasts and this and that and researching, like you're never going to do enough of that to build the belief that an event can, especially with ISA, because it's a felt thing. Like it's the culture. Like the products are epic, conversation plan epic, but it really is the culture that's really game changing. And it's like the secret sauce with ISA, and the events show that. Another big thing, and then I was chatting to Meg about it, and even like on the first day, she was like, "Oh, it's real. You're a human." Like these. She's like, so we just touched each other's face, like, "Oh, you're real." It's like these Zoom calls and stuff are epic, and online business is epic, and the freedom it can create is epic. But it's very easy to just disconnect from, even if you're in it for a while. If you're like on calls and stuff, and you're 3, 4, like you can be in it for months, but if you aren't getting to the events, it's very easy to just be like, okay, I'm not going to get on the calls anymore and disconnect from it because it doesn't feel real and you haven't made real connections. So getting to the events, it kind of, you see it. It's like, whoa, this is an actual company. It's not just this magic fairy that drops a brown box off. It's like, wow. And that's corporate. And that's like, and it's real. There are real people, and you're meeting other people who are in your area and all those kinds of things. And I think these are the big events, but even little events. And we're going to touch on the gradient of events tonight because that was spoken about a lot over the weekend. But that's really important. And the other thing is like, and it's world-class training. And that's very relevant after this weekend we've had, because getting access to people like David Wood for $199 for a weekend is just ridiculous. Like his 3-day events would actually be about $5,000. He's like Tony Robbins style quality. And the reason we get access to him is because Isogenics subsidize it. So like ISA don't make a cent off the events that they run, especially the David Wood events. They're just subsidizing it, and the money that we're going goes to running it. But the training that we're getting, and it's going to help you build your network marketing business, but it's going to help everything. Like all the workshops I run, everything that Kat and I do, everything that I've been able to create in the last 5 years, a huge part of that is because of the training that I've received from David Wood and all the other Isogenics trainers. Like it crosses over into anything, and Rory can attest to that. Kat can attest to that. It's like it goes across every discipline, because you're actually developing you. You're not just developing network marketing skills, you're developing human skills, which happen to also be network marketing skills. The other thing about events is it's duplicable. It's really easy You don't have to be doing the training. You don't have to be doing the educating. You just get somebody in a room and you let the professionals take care of it, because we don't have to be trainers. We don't have to be coaches. We don't have to be speakers. It's like our job is to get people in front of those speakers and to leverage that, and to not be the source of the information, but to get people in front of the information. And so, and then the last thing is, it's just fun. It's like, at the end of the day, if you're not having fun while you're doing it, then you're probably doing it wrong. And the events, again, the bigger events, like we got Celebration coming up, which is just going to be epic. But even the smaller events, so like the online info sessions, they call them launch parties, but just like the weekly info sessions that you can have, the Super Saturdays, the smaller events, they're all super fun, and you meet epic people. Yeah. And so before I go on and talk about actually inviting people to events, I'm just going to unmute Meg and get her to share. I've got you. You just want to share a little bit about your experience with the David Wood event, like maybe your 3 main shifts or takeaways from that event, just to give people a bit of an insight.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Meg. Yeah, this weekend was such an eye-opener for me. I was still a bit skeptical about isogenics, but then I got there, and as soon as I walked in the door, there was just so many happy, fit people, and they were just so energetic, and I was like, oh my God, like, where am I? But I honestly, after that first night, the first session, I went home and I was just like, I have never learned so much good information in such a short period of time. And I didn't think that people taught this kind of thing. Like, it was just so insane. So I wrote down 3 things that I took away from the weekend. There were so many, but these are like 3 big things for me. My first thing was the art of connection, and he talked a lot about common ground. And like, it's probably a basic thing in network marketing, but for me, just really like saying find common ground, I was like, oh yeah, like that's how you connect with people. But when you kind of put a label on it and you're like, this is what you're doing, it just gives you something to think about in conversation. And as soon as he said that, every conversation I've had since then, I've noticed like that you can do that, you can find common ground. So that was really important. Yeah. The second one is use the system. Anna wrote up so they've got the triangle, but then she wrote up a square, and it was like right vehicle, right time, right me, and then right system. And I was like, whoa, like that's so true, because you can have all the right things and you can be in the space, but then you get to your computer and you're like, okay, what do I do now? So I think learning that systems exist, there's so many, and that if you just use them, they've been used by everyone. So it's like, yeah, it's just really good to know that, I think. And then my third one is that roughly 9 out of 10 people will say no. So you have to get comfortable with no, and it's not personal. It's not they're saying no to you. It's not saying, no, I don't like you anymore because you tried to make me get shakes. And it's just like, no, it's not the right time. It's just they probably have a different point of view. So yeah, not taking it personally and being prepared for that, I think, is really good, because I have got so many no's in this first week, and I was like, why did you want to do it? Like, it's so good. So it's like, yeah, I think that was,
yeah, I love it. And I like Jackson Parr says, it's like he wants to tell people they're going to get punched in the stomach before they get punched in the stomach. So
exactly.
because if you just send people out and then they get 4 no's, for some people that's enough to stop. So
yeah,
that's a really important one, to just let people know and reframe it and make it normal. So when it happens, oh cool, it's just part of, this is what I said was going to happen. Yes, awesome. Thanks for sharing, Meg. And so how would you sum up like how you felt? Because like you said, you were obviously, like when you spoke to Kat, like you were pretty open from the start. You'd seen the money call, so you came in quite open, but like you said, you're still like a bit skeptical about things, a bit unsure about things. So like, how would you say your belief in the opportunity you have with Isogenics and belief in yourself being able to be successful with that. How do you feel about that now compared to before the event?
Just like so much better. And in the booklet that they do, they get you to write 1 out of 10, like how you feel about the product, how you feel about the company, how you feel about the compensation plan, and how you feel about network marketing. And I remember I like looked at that, I was like, oh, like 5, like this is like the first day. And then David Wood talked a lot about like shifting that number up and like how you can make it shift. And I think mine all shifted quite a lot because I learned more about the company, I learned more about the product, but I learned more that network marketing is a profession and it can be a career, and that being in a room full of physical people that do it, it's like, oh, okay, I believe you now. So it's like, I think that was a really important thing for me, to be around other people that are doing it and people that are thriving and just killing it. So
yeah, definitely. And it kind of, and being around people that like have done it. It's not
just
look at the compensation plan and be like, even if you understand the compensation plan, it's still just a nice idea. So to be in a room where people are making 6 figures, 7 figures, and to hear all their different stories, it's quite quite powerful.
And I think even just meeting you, Tully, I was like, oh, you're real, like you said, because you kind of are used to meeting people over screens or seeing you on Instagram, but then to connect to like one-on-one and like even like Cal and stuff, looking him in the eye and being like, oh, he's real too. Like it was just like, it was just so nice. And that connection really like emphasizes that feeling of community, I think. So that was really strong for me. I was like, wow, this is a community. Like you don't just kind of like get given the shakes and then like go do it. It's like everyone wants to nourish everyone, and it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. And you hit the nail on the head. Like most people come for the product or for the compliment, for the that's what they come for. People stay. I've stayed like just as much, but for the community. It's like I've developed the most deepest. I got a fiance out of the whole thing. Like I've developed the most incredible deep friendships, and because like David talks about this, he's like, and he's traveled all around the world. He's worked in a lot of different industries. The best people he knows are network marketing. And it's because you do, part of the parcel is developing yourself to do that and build those connections. So thanks for pointing that out. Epic. Thanks, Meg. Can everybody give Meg a little bit of love? On team call already. Love it. Thanks, Meg. Cool. So what I just want to touch on now is like, cool story. And it's like, how do you get, because who would like love to have heaps of, I'm just going to check the chat. Yeah, sweet. Actually inviting people to events is a skill, and getting people to events is a skill, because people have to invest a little bit of money, even though the value is incredible for the main company events. People have to invest a bit of money. They need to invest their time, which is the most valuable asset. People aren't running around with spare days generally. And so for people to do that, they're going to want to be thinking they're going to get something out of it. So if you don't know somebody's why, if you don't know like why somebody's doing it or what somebody's going to get out of coming to the event, then you're not going to be able to help cast a vision for them that actually moves the needle for them to get them to the event. So the first thing to do is get to the event yourself, because then you know why. Like now, Meg has the posture when she's talking to someone, she's going to have the posture to, can you go through the personality types in more detail again, please? Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. But now Meg's got the posture. So the next event that comes up, Meg will just look people in the eyes and say, you got to come. And people are going to be like, okay. And so like actually getting to the events, like yourself, it's just a non-negotiable commitment. When me and Rory started this 5 years ago, we were like, we're going to go to every single event in Australia for the next 4 years. It's like, that's our degree. It's like I invested a whole lot more money in that than my physio degree, and it wasn't paying me along the way. So we have no overheads with this business. Like we eat our products. The only overheads and investment we have is getting to these events. And so committing to that for yourself is a non-negotiable, because if you're not in it, if you're not going to every event, your people won't go to every event. And if your people aren't going to every event, you're not going to build a duplicating business. So it's just like leaning into that first and foremost, but then getting really good at connecting with people and learning what motivates people. So this is knowing their why. So when I was speaking to Meg about the event, we discussed her goals briefly. And so I was sharing that this event will fast track those things by 6 months. So it's like you're placing some sort of value on it. Meg was really good because she's proactive. So it was actually quite simple. I was like, you should come to this event. She was like, yeah, it's a good idea. I'll come to the event. So, but for a lot of people, it's like in Callum, like, because the investment was bigger in time and Callum was in a tight spot. And so it was connecting with Callum and sharing exactly what he's going to get out of it and the importance of committing to it in a way that related to him. And so one way of doing that is understanding what drives people. And one way that David Wood actually goes through in terms of personality types and what motivates people is the color code. And you can actually Google it. I think it might be color spelt the American way, COLOR. And it's not cod, it's code. The color cod, it's not a fish. You don't have to be a pescatarian to do it. So there's different colors associated with different personality types, and they all are driven by different things. So quick little summary: a red personality type, they're sort of money motivated, really driven, really organized, really structured. They're kind of like the go, go, go. They can be seen as almost cold a little bit because they're not necessarily in touch with their emotions that much. And they're really driven. So it compares. Caitlin's pointing to Erica. So these people often, are motivated by money, like the trips, and they want to win. They're driven by the desire to win. So Erica, again, this is probably you written all over it. But so these people are very good for isoderby. So when there's competitions and stuff, the red personality types are like, I don't care what it is, I'm going to win it. And so that's that kind of people. So when you're speaking to somebody like that, like just type yes if everybody knows somebody like that. Erica, know anyone? Yeah, so we all know somebody like that. So if you're speaking to somebody like that, when you're talking about the events, it's like all the leaders in the company, all the people making the most money, they're at the events and they get to every event and they're going to be there. You're going to be able to meet them. And so you can kind of put that spin on it. It's like, you want to win at this, you want to do well at this, you get to the events. That's where all the leaders are. That's where they all play. That's where they all hang out. And so you can speak that language. And so that's sort of the reds. You can go to the color code and actually do a free quiz, and it sort of tells you what you are. Blue, which is a lot of people in isogenics, they're more emotional and they're connection driven. They're motivated by connection, essentially. So they're the people that are like, initially David Wood makes the joke, it's like they're the people that, oh, don't worry, like I'll set you up. Or they're usually the nurturers and all those kinds of things. So when you're speaking to people like that, you just talk about how loving the community is and how many friends they're going to make and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's kind of like, I'm a bit of a blue. Meg's definitely got a bit of blue in it. And yeah, so talk about connection, and that's like a big chunk of the people in ISA are blue. And then yellow, which is Callum, driven by fun. And so that's where, especially if someone's single, you just tell them there's going to be heaps of hot guys or girls there. It's going to be epic parties and it's going to be heaps of fun. And that gets a lot of like, if somebody's single and I know they're yellow, it's like, I say that, it's like, oh, it's going to excel your business. They probably don't care. If it's going to be a fun weekend, then they're in. If there's going to be epic parties, they're in. And so, because this is where, like, it doesn't matter what motivates us. This is where we've got to connect with other people and be like, what's actually driving them? And that's kind of like the art of this business. So that's yellow. I think we all know a few yellows. When I did the test, I was equal parts blue and yellow. And then white, which I think Rosa, where is Rosa? Are you a white, Rose? Yeah. So white something, Rosa is half white. And they're driven by peace and integrity as well. So if you're speaking to a white, you can talk about like the values of the company and things like that. Like this will give them an insight into the integrity and the values of the company. You can talk about how like we're partnered with Make-A-Wish, especially for celebration. There's a whole section on Make-A-Wish, like Isagenix raises millions of dollars for Make-A-Wish Foundation. So you can talk about it being a values-driven company and all that kind of stuff. So basically, like that's just a very basic overview of it. But the principles behind this is connecting with people and understanding what drives them and then speaking their language. It's kind of like the love languages. Everybody knows about the 5 love languages. This is kind of similar. Do you know what I mean? If you're like, you know, giving somebody words of touch and all they want is words of touch, words of affirmation, and all they want is physical touch, it's like, it's not going to be received. And this is the same thing. So this is where, yeah, getting really good at connecting with people's why is the key to inviting to events. Another thing, I'm just going to catch up on the chat box. Dun, dun, dun. Meg, you're a bit white too. Yeah, I agree, blue, white. And there's some yellow in there too. I saw her on stage dancing. Paige, I feel like I'm all of them, but red. Yeah. Meg, you can do the test online. Yeah. The 5 love languages. It's not really appropriate for this. Caitlin, you're such a fucking heckler. Just relax. Every time I say something, I can just see her like mocking me in the screen. So the other thing when it comes to inviting to events is, and this is the biggest one, and I'm going to switch to serious Tull, is like have the balls to cast a vision for somebody. Because so many people, especially when they're investing money, if they've got to fly across the country, it's like, what if they go to the event and they don't like it? What if they go to the event and then they decide it's not for them and they've spent all that money? And like, and it's like, oh, I don't want to be wrong. I don't want them to try and then fail and then it's my fault. And it's just bullshit. It's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to open the door for people, to let them see, because what they'll do, what you will get out of this, if you go to an event, especially David Water celebration, you will know. You will know whether it's for you or it's not for you. And it doesn't really matter either which way. Our job isn't to convince people. Our job is to let people know what's actually available here and then they can choose. But be willing to actually cast a vision for somebody and to look someone in the eye and say, this could change your life, and connect it back to their why. And because that's what's actually going to get people in the room. And I remember the first time I actually got this, because inviting people to events was something I felt awkward about. I was like, what if a speaker says something and it doesn't resonate with them, or like something like that? And I didn't like people coming to events. In retrospect, I think I was just a bit of a control freak. Like if I was presenting, I didn't mind inviting people, but I didn't necessarily, I was scared people were going to go to the event and then judge me based on if they didn't like it or not. And so this is something I had to really work on. And the first time I really did this, it was a couple, Rhea and Rob Love. They hadn't even started the products yet. And I looked Rob in the eye. It was over a Skype call, so it wasn't directly in the eye. But I told him, I was like, this would be the thing that could change everything for you guys. And they got on a plane, flew to Brisbane, spent the last $1,500 they had. And that was 3 years ago. And they've been making money with Isagenix ever since. They're debt-free and they're traveling in a van right now, because I had the balls to speak to a skeptical guy and say, get to this event, do it. This could change everything for you. And so and then do you know what? I've got a lot of other people to events and they're not doing anything with it, but that's not my responsibility. Like my responsibility is to open the door for people. Does that make sense? So, and the other thing is use a third party. Like if you're new and you're like, go to this event and you haven't even been to one, it's a bit like, if someone's a yellow, you might be able to hype them up a bit, but use a third party. So use somebody who's been to the event. Use your sponsor, use me, use Kat, use Rory. Use people who have been to all of these events to just say, I haven't actually been to the event. I'm really excited, but you should speak to Tully or you should speak to Kat. They've been to 4 of them or something. So they'll be able to tell you more about what's actually going to be there. And then we can help chat to the person and figure out what's driving them in that. So don't be afraid to use a third party as well. Is that all making sense? Awesome. And then the last thing to touch on, and they spoke about this a lot, because all of the businesses that are exploding right now, it's all through events. And it's all through running regular small events to build to the bigger events. So the gradient of events is basically like, I guess you want to get people from one event to the next. And it's much easier to get somebody to the next step because there's less time commitment, less financial commitment. So the gradients of events looks like team calls. This is an event. So inviting people onto this, it's like there's minimal connection because obviously it's online, but it still gives people a feel. People get to meet people, see people. So this is an event that you can invite people to, or in like online info calls and that sort of thing. The next event is what they call launch parties or info sessions. And so this is where you get people together in the same physical space. Might be in your home, you might run it somewhere, like at a gym or something like that if you've got access to a space. Most people just do it at the house. And you can just get anywhere from 2 to 10 to 20 people. And you just I'll do a whole separate training on these, but you just get people together, share your stories, play a video. And it's just a way of, again, like when Meg rocked up to this event, it's like, oh, it's real. Oh, there's real people. Oh, they're not weird. Oh, that person got results. That person got results. And it breaks down so many barriers that people didn't even know they had. Because if you just send someone a link, unless you've got a lot of trust and rapport with that person, often it can take a lot for somebody to actually sign up. Whereas if somebody comes in and has 4 conversations with people that have all used the system and got results, or 4 conversations with people that are all making money, they're like, oh, this is legit. So it's a much more powerful, I guess, tool. And the cool thing is they can go from anywhere to, like Jackson Parr said, his launch parties actually go for about 15 to 20 minutes. It's like the person who's running it shares their story. Jackson shares his story. They play one video and then they say, that's it. And then there's a 15-minute break where they can talk and connect and all those things. But basically, you want to give yourself sort of 60 to 90 minutes, but it's a small investment from people that are new. The next level up are like the Super Saturdays. So the Super Saturdays are company-run events, and I put in ISA Delights here because that's an event we ran a few weeks ago now. But we ran our own event for the day, but it was epic, and everybody who came, there was a lot of people who came that were like sort of in Meg's position, like you guys seem pretty legit, but I'm still a little bit unsure. And anybody who came like that left being like, this is real. Okay, I get this. I'm more equipped. I feel more confident. Let's go. So those one-day events are really good. And then the next ones are like New Year's kickoff, which is the NICO. And I've got here Perth is on the 12th. So me and Kat obviously aren't going to that. Eric probably won't because we're getting married on the 12th of Jan. I should probably write the month. January. So check what these are run in all capital cities. So guys, there'll be one in Brisbane, and it's good because I think they're only like $25 for the full day, an epic one to get people to, because then celebration's February 22nd. So if somebody comes to that event, they're going to be like, oh wow, and they'll definitely want to come to celebration. Just going to check the chat box. Gotcha. Cat just getting around me. Summer kickoff we've just had, but that's around, I think, September every year. So basically, your homework for this week is book a ticket to your next event. Like if you don't have like New Year's kickoff tickets, let's find out when it is, block it in. And then in terms of the practicalities, I've got my list of people, then I also have upcoming events and lists. Because the thing is, and you can organize, like New Year's kickoff is a great one because they're run in every capital city, pretty much every capital city, not Darwin, I don't think, but most capital cities in Australia and in New Zealand. So you can literally write a list and you can be inviting people from any state to the New Year's kickoff in their area. And so you can actually start to invite and build like that. So like, I'm going to have a lot of people, bums on seats, learning about Askogenics when I'm getting married. And that's the power of leverage and duplication, and that's the power of events is it's not on us. So then there's ISA unis. They just had one in Sydney, so there's not one of them for a little while. And then University in Action with David Wood is hands down. It's next June on the Gold Coast. Well, it's this coming week in Auckland. If you know anyone in Auckland, then get around them because it's this weekend in Auckland. But next June on the Gold Coast. So I think we should like definitely have get a big Airbnb or something and have just like the weekend over there, I think. And the big one coming up is Celebration, February 22. Again, game changer. Like we're all going to be flying over from WA. So it's building to events. But I'm just going to quickly check the chat. Yeah, Paige is pumped. Juicy homework. Awesome, Kat. I would totes go, but I love you and Kat too much. Paige, where's your commitment to your Askogenics business? Yeah, so, but why this gradient is important is you pretty much want to, like in your income producing activity each week, like you've got your time set out for your Askogenics work. So you've got time to learn, you've got time to do, so contact people. Within your IPA, your income producing activity time, I strongly advise having specific time for inviting people to events. So you might be sending out the save scripts and inviting people to look at tools or to get on calls or three-way calls. Like I would have specific time, like when each week are you inviting people to whatever the next event is? Because it'll do two things. A, when there are events on, you're going to be getting people to events. And it's also going to be a good reminder that, wow, I don't have any events to invite people to for the next 2 weeks. Like I should probably have a launch party or something, or somebody around me should have a launch, or I should run a launch party for one of my team. Because the more events that you've got going on within your organization, the more consistently, the more solid and the faster that you're going to grow. So that's pretty much it. Are there any questions around events, inviting to events, anything like that? I might just stop share and take everybody off mute, actually. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, mute everybody. All right. Any questions, guys?
No, that was good. I really enjoyed that, Tully. Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. That was cool. And Erica, are you going to go do the color code test and see if you actually read? You read? I can't see it.
I'm already doing it.
Oh, you doing it?
I'm already doing it. I'm like 5 questions off. I was like, no fucking way. I will win.
So good. Oh, yeah, you can't win that test, Erica.
Like, as soon as you said it, she's like Googling. And then she's like, Caitlin, be honest, do you think I'm more bossy or arrogant? She was like, so tough.
Can you post the link? Oh, yeah, Kat, can you post the link? Or Erica, can you post the link to the test in here?
Yeah. Yep. Color code.
And Jam, I didn't see you jumped on, but do you want to just share your main takeaways? Oh, you're frozen. Speak, Jam? No, audio's gone too. Oh, we're still recording. Oops.